Every student who's an admitted freshman at Hillsdale College, we send them a copy of Aristotle's Ethics. That's a frightening thing to do. Everybody knows that Aristotle's a little complicated, right? I brought my toy Aristotle here this morning so you can see how friendly he is. The reason to do it is we all have a common problem. Everybody has one problem. How do you live well? And we're in charge of that. We human beings, and our well-being, our happiness depends upon how we do that. And the Nicomachean Ethics is the first great book written about that subject, and in my belief, the best book ever written. Aristotle begins with a very dramatic statement in the first sentence of the Ethics. He says that every action and every choice and every inquiry and every thing we make, we seem to make for some good. So if you just start with this question, what's good and how do I be that? That's what the subject of ethics is about.
Morning.
Morning, kiddies.
Good morning.
How you doing? So this is a class about ethics. What is that?
The study of human character, what one ought to do.
What do we mean by character?
The recurrent habits of action that you follow through in your life.
Does it mean habits?
It's the steady state of, it's formed through habits. So you have the steady state through which you'll act in a particular way because of the kind of character you have.
So that's something to mark down. Before we're done, we need to figure out what we mean by a steady state. And we need to figure out how you get one. I argue that ethics is the study of how best to live. Do you know what's going to dominate your careers insofar as the domination is in your power? Your character. It'll be overwhelmingly important. Credentials matter right at the beginning, but then the human being fully at work reveals itself, and the good ones get promoted in any just situation. So it matters what you are, very much. Why is ethics important?
Because we're trying to figure out how to be good.
Good. Good's important. And we're going to find out that's a really commanding word. It's a beautiful word. We're going to learn what the word beautiful means, too. So ethics is ethics trying to figure out how to be good?
No, it's becoming good.
Being good, isn't it? Being good. Give me another definition of that word, Juan.
Of ethics?
Yeah.
I would say development of your character.
Character. Big word, big word. Lots of disputes in America today about character, and we're not going to make any topical references except that one very vague allusion. But character comes from a Greek word. You're the one who knows Greek. Do you know Greek?
Not exactly.
The Greek word charesein.
Is it like a mark?
Yeah, mark, etch, engrave, tattoo. You know, not paint on the surface, dig in, right? Character is dug in, something deep in us. And if we do our work well, everybody who watches this is going to know how you do that and what you're like if you do it well. It's what Stephen said down there. He said, learning how to be good. And that is the whole question. We almost never ask that question today. We introduce the young to learning. The word education means lead forth. We leave off forth. And that means we introduce the young to education with an invitation for them to become whatever they want to be. But you know, they could become ostriches maybe, but they wouldn't be very good at that. And for a reason that we're going to study in this class. It's the reason ethics is a big subject. It is the first subject. And this is the first book ever written about it. And I will tell you, back in the Paleolithic era, when I was in graduate school, in the first class I had with a great man, he called this one of the greatest books ever written. So somebody read the first sentence. What does it say?
Every art and every inquiry, and likewise every action and choice, seems to aim at some good, and hence it has been beautifully said that the good is that at which all things aim.
Now, look at the nouns in that sentence. And aren't they interesting? They're all fundamental words. What does art mean?
Something you
Technical
make.
knowledge. Yeah, a craft, something you make.
So you said the word technical, and the Greek word is techne. That's making. It means, it doesn't mean, like in the background is Raphael's School of Athens, right? That's fine art. That's high art. But it has in common with whoever made that glass right there that it was produced. It was made, it was designed and executed according to skill and with a purpose in mind. And the first claim is that every time we do that, we aim at some good. Isn't it interesting, that word good? We're going to have to figure out what that means. What's an inquiry?
Just a question.
It's something more than a question, isn't it? The word is methodos in Greek, and a method. In other words, undertake it, right? It's just, heck, I wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. And then you go on about your life. That's not an inquiry, right? We're going to find out what ethics is. This is an inquiry. And also remember, we're going to encounter in book 1, Aristotle saying, the reason this book is to be read is to become good. This is an urgent inquiry. And this inquiry, like every other, he says, aims at some good. Action, what's that word? Kate.
I don't actually know Greek.
Yeah, praxis. You don't, who knows Greek? Somebody here was spouting Greek last night.
Julia knows Greek.
I knew Greek, yeah.
Yeah, so praxis, you know what that means?
Yeah, it's like doing or
Yeah,
Can it be?
we get practical from it, practice. So every action we take, right? Every time we make something, every time we inquire about something, every time we act, and then the last is choice. What's choice?
Picking between alternatives.
That's right. And that word is prohairesis, and that's one of the most important words in the ethics. In fact, they're all very important words, but if you had to pick one of these words, that word is crucial because choice is at the center of the building of character. In this word, choice, is found the basis of human freedom. Because it's not just that you're free to choose, it's also that your choices matter very much, and they make you what you are. Human beings, we're going to discover, face obstacles, and the virtues are the good confrontation and tackling of those obstacles. And if you do that, it will change you and make you better. You can become awesome. Start today. And it's, so another thing is, this is the greatest self-help book ever written. So they all seem to aim at some good, and we're going to get a full definition of that word next time, but what does it mean provisionally right now?
Well, I thought it was interesting that he qualifies it as some good and not at the good. So I guess he's introducing some ambiguity, saying, well, there might be more than one thing that is good, and we're going to try to find out maybe which one's better.
Is a murder an action?
Yes.
Every murder aims at some good. That's the claim.
Right.
Yeah. Do you think that's true?
At a perceived good. So someone thinks that committing a murder will be good in the end.
I think at least in the great majority of cases, at a real good. I'll tell you why. There's a really great television news report. Does that sound like an oxymoron? Something that's a contradiction in terms. It was interviews in a Texas maximum security prison. And here were their claims. Almost all of the claims were, I didn't do it. I did it because, and what follows because is always some good. I needed money. This person harmed me or something dear to me. Then exculpatory factors. Yeah, a lot of people did worse and didn't get as bad a sentence as I got. See, they were all talking about justice and the good. It's very rare. In fact, it's a sign of insanity if somebody says, I killed him and I did it because I love to kill. Maybe people are moved by that, but they hardly ever say that. This says, unavoidably, you're aiming for something that you claim is good. Yeah, one.
So I guess the distinction then is between aiming at something that's good and the action itself being good, because perhaps we can say that the murder itself wasn't a good thing to do. If
it was a murder.
Sure.
But just if you just abstract from the murder, from the moral implication of it, somebody set a bomb with a purpose to kill Adolf Hitler.
Right.
Was that good?
Mm-hmm.
Or put it more directly, George Patton wanted nothing more than to get to Berlin first and personally shoot Adolf Hitler. That's what he thought he was made for. Would that be a murder?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Shouldn't do that.
You should.
He should, yeah. Remember, all of these four kinds of actions, which describe every voluntary human action, have a moral cast. That is, the rightness or wrongness of them is in question. And do you see about this confusion that there's some good? Well, there are many goods. And we're going to find out they're arranged in a hierarchy, these many goods. And it's a little confusing to know which one to be pursuing. Now, if you think for a minute, what's going on in your mind? Minute by minute, day by day. What's the big thing in most days? Aren't you trying to figure out what to do? Look, young and handsome. And so the joys of youth are available to you. Stay up all night, play or study. You can do it night after night. And then you start looking like a scene from The Walking Dead, which is what finals are like around here. But all that calls to you because it's good. And then, dang it, you need to read these books, right? And those are both good things. And one of them calls louder sometimes. But that doesn't mean that the relationship between the two things alters. And that's a choice. And the claim is, every time you make a choice, it places a mark on your soul. And it makes you what you are. And nobody makes them all perfect. Anybody who's determined to make them well every day, and having failed some that day, start again in the morning, those people become good. And we'll find out not only good, also happy, which is what we all want to be more than anything else. And happy doesn't mean, in this book, we're going to get to it, it doesn't mean feel good about yourself and have a pleasant outlook on the day. It doesn't mean just lifting your face up to the sunshine and seeing it warm when you're up here in Michigan and it's kind of cold. Those are pleasures, and pleasures can be bad for you, or they can be good for you. Depends on your character. Okay, now, and hence, somebody read from there.
And hence it has been beautifully said that the good is that at which all things aim. But a certain difference is apparent among ends.
Okay, no, too far, Gil.
Okay.
Gil's very precocious. So he's ready to do the whole book right now. But think about that second clause. Seem to aim at some good, beautifully said that the good is that at which all things aim. Those are different, aren't they? if good means, for a provisional explanation, we'll use the term good to mean a thing being fully what it is. That's a good glass. I don't think it's a great one, not to my taste anyway, but it's fine, it functions. If you drilled a hole in the bottom of it, wouldn't be a good glass anymore. I like to use water bottles, the ubiquitous kind of things, right? Because if you cut the bottom off of them, then they're not a good water bottle anymore. But if you turn them upside down and take the top off, they turn into a funnel. So they had the being of the water bottle, and that made them a good water bottle. And then they lost the being of the water bottle, but in that particular case, they gained the being of the funnel. And they could be a good funnel. I thought of that because when I'm talking, there's usually a water bottle around, and I'm looking for something to illustrate the point with, and it turns out those are really good. So, beautiful, what does that mean?
Yeah, that which is perfected in being.
Yeah, and see, Isaac here, what year are you in?
Junior.
He's a junior, yes, he's precocious too. So he has a philosophic turn of mind, and so he's going to use technical phrases. I'm going to make him explain what they are. So, being means what?
Well, that which is, that which is not.
Yeah, that which. Do you use that expression when you write?
And I'm an English major.
Yeah.
That what is.
Yeah. No, so the being of a thing is just what it is, right? In Aristotle, the being of a thing is just what it is. Now, that makes it good, by the way. If it is that thing, it's good. If it's a soiled or broken or damaged one or distorted one, it's not a good one anymore. Juan made the very good point that he says that every action, thought, and everything, every voluntary thing we do seems to aim at some good, and then it has been beautifully said that every action aims at the good. Right? Now, I will tell you that in my graduate student class, we spent 6 weeks on that sentence, and it was worth it. Now, so just think of that, the contrast, right? There's a contrast between good and beautiful, and there's a contrast between some and the. And the implication is going to be that the goods are arranged in a hierarchy. So, somebody read on.
But a certain difference is apparent among ends, since some are ways of being at work, while others are certain kinds of works produced over and above the being at work.
Being at work. What does that mean? Why does he use that? This is, by the way, an idiosyncratic translation. I like it. And he uses being at work to emphasize the fact that Aristotle uses that word for being in a kind of a technical way. And it means active, radiating, pulsing with its existence. Aristotle doesn't see that that is inert. That's busy being a glass right now. So that's why he uses that, one of the reasons why he uses that. So go ahead.
And in those cases in which there are ends of any kind beyond the actions, the works produced are by nature better things than the activities.
Okay, let's stop about that. But a certain difference is apparent among ends. What are ends? Purposes, right? It's a very important word in Aristotle, telos. We get telescope from it, something out distant that you can see, right? And ends are what you aim for, what you're after, right? Now read on.
And since there are many actions and arts and kinds of knowledge, the ends also turn out to be many. Of medical knowledge, the end is health. Of shipbuilding skill, it is a boat. Of strategic art, it is victory. Of household management, it is wealth. But in as many such pursuits as are under some one capacity, in the way that bridle making and all the other skills involved with implements pertaining to horses come under horsemanship, while this and every action pertaining to war come under strategic art, and in the same way other pursuits are under other capacities, in all of them the ends of all the master arts are more worthy of choice than are the ends of the pursuits that come under them.
Okay, so let's unpack that. So somebody makes a bridle. Why do they do it?
To ride the horse.
Well, they want the bridle. Why do they want the bridle?
To ride the horse.
Bridle making, bridle, horsemanship. What's that good for? In the Greek world, cavalry, an urgent good, right? You need that. Or you can lose everything. And the ultimate thing, then, that this chain of things aims for is victory. And victory is a different kind of thing than the others, because you always want it, and you're always diminished without it. Whereas, bridle making is often an annoyance, and you can certainly have too many bridles. But victory, you just need that thing. And he mentioned the medical art, right? And its aim is health. Health is like victory. You need that thing. Each of these things takes its dignity from the step above it and from all the steps above it. And that means the higher good that it serves, even a small beginning point thing, the greater the dignity it has. So we're going to find out that the things that can make you happy, because that's the highest human good, according to Aristotle, it means to live beautifully, which is beautiful is the highest form of the good. And that's a pagan thought, but it's not entirely different from the Christian thought of beatitude. See God, finally. And that would be seeing a complete and ultimate perfection. The person who put that argument together best is probably Thomas Aquinas, who wrote a long commentary on this book that's very worth reading. Okay, in the first sentence, all of our actions are directed at some good, and it's beautiful to say that all of them, taken together, aim at the good. And then it's introduced a hierarchy of the goods. And do you see how in that 20 lines or whatever it is, you start learning to look at the universe vertically. Things point up. And one of the things about reading this book is you have to learn to look up. It's not, young people today are sort of taught this way, if you sort of drew a picture of how they're taught. They think that there are many universes, and they stand at the center of one of them. C.S. Lewis liked to make the point that back in the day when we criticized everybody for being such fools, they thought the earth was the center of the universe. And C.S. Lewis, a very learned man, points out in one of his academic works, The Discarded Image is the title of the briefest version of that academic work. He points out that that's not what they thought in the ancient and the medieval world. They thought we were at the bottom of the universe. They thought we were standing down at the bottom, looking up at a great height. Skyscrapers, bottom of the Grand Canyon. And that, that's not hubris, that's reverence. That reverence is contained in this sentence within the limit that this is an inquiry. We're supposed to find out. We're supposed to get to the truth of the matter. That's what we're here to do.